He looks like he owns credit. Oh my gosh. Man like Arthur from Batman.
Dzień dobry. Assalamu alaikum. Ciao. Konnichiwa. Bonjour. Hola. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Ciao. This is Ken at 10, where we talk about Norbury, property, and all things local, national, and anything else, really. How are you? Hope you're well. It's rather cold here in Norbury today. It doesn't seem to be coming out of this loop, does it? I thought like last day of the month, maybe we're in for a turn. But looking in the news, did you see Mallorca? Mallorca covered in snow. I remember one of my friends being over there when it snowed a few years ago. Apparently the children were out absolutely amazed. They'd never seen anything like it because they're just not used to looking at snow. They'd never seen it before. And now seems to be becoming more of a regular event, what with global warming and everything. Anyway, how are you? Good. I'm glad you're well. A couple of things to report. Something that I forgot to report yesterday that I really should have talked about. There's a guy called Tony Hooker and an organization called Litter Free Norbury. And if you're not a member, jump on Facebook and join them. It's free. Just join up and see what's going on. And they're part of the Love Norbury organization as well. And they do so much to clean up Norbury. It's all voluntary. And it really does help. Let me just read you this post quickly. This is from Norbury Park cleanup event, which was just carried out, I think, just Sunday, just gone. Yesterday, we undertook a cleanup event in collaboration with our wonderful friends of Norbury Park. We had 40 people turn up, and some of them were also 10 from a football club called the Energized Football Club. Hats off to head coach Bonju, who contacted them a month ago with the idea of getting his under-12s and under-13s involved. They did a great job, and I think everyone involved, including the kids, was a fantastic addition to the event. The kids were a credit to coaches and club, and they collected around 50 bags of rubbish as well as a number of fly tips. Isn't that fantastic? That's what local people are like here in Norbury. Absolutely lovely. Just on to a couple of other things now. Generally, I just wanted to talk about something that I noticed in the news was really frustrating. Big banks, they've landed an extra £5.5 billion this year. You know why? Because they're not passing on the interest rate differences. They're actually making the gap between what you borrow and the base rate bigger so that their profits are higher. It's disgraceful, isn't it? 5.5 billion. And the ones that are guilty, let's name and shame. Barclays, NatWest, Lloyds and Santander all reported large increases in their net interest income, the difference between what they charge and what they borrow. In these times when things are tough, that's just a hard pill to swallow, isn't it? Anyway, there we are. It is what it is. A couple of things. I've been asked to do something just on, a lot of people aren't familiar with the difference between Section 8 notice for tenants and Section 21. Now, they're both mandatory grounds under the Housing Act as things stand right now. Section 8 is a rent arrears notice, and it relies on two facts. Number one, the rent has to be 8 weeks or more in arrears at the point when you serve that notice. And number two, it has to be 8 weeks or more in arrears at the point of the hearing. So the danger with the notice is that you serve the notice, and if you really want your tenants out, then if they pay anything so that their arrears is under 8 weeks, then the ground isn't made out, and therefore you may not get possession. Now, with possession hearings taking upwards of 10 to 16 months even, it's really important that if you're serving notice, you understand what the notice is and you're clear on what the reasons you're serving it for, and that it's going to be successful. The other mandatory ground, and the other one used, is of course Section 21. I know there's much mooted around about it being taken away at some point in the future, but as things stand, Section 21 is still a valid and correct way of obtaining possession. It's what we call a no-fault possession order. And the irony about this is everyone's saying, the evil landlords are giving these tenants notice for no reason at all. And, there's always a reason. Either the landlord needs to sell because the interest rates are too much for them now, or the landlord wants to sell because they've had enough of the tenants and some nuisance behavior. And they know they can't evict those tenants on grounds of nuisance behavior because it's really hard to do and it's discretionary. And it's very costly to get to court. And if a ground's discretionary, it's highly likely in my experience that it will go in favor of the tenant. In other words, you will not get possession. So if you're going to go for a possession order, you need to make sure it's a mandatory ground for possession. And the easy ways are Section 8, Section 21. Section 8, the one that needs 2 months arrears at the beginning of service of notice and at the point of hearing, and Section 21, in which you need no such thing, but you do need a number of other bits of paper that have to be correct before you serve that notice. And there's quite a long list of them. So I won't go into them individually. Suffice to say, if it's something you find yourself in the middle of, then do get in touch, have a chat with us. Thankfully for us, we don't often have to use either kinds of notice, but now and again, of course, we do. And, it can be quite frustrating. There is a third kind of notice, of course, and that is for rent increases, increasingly something we're having to do these days. And that's a Section 13 notice. And this is when your contract is outside of its usual period, i.e. if you've got a 12-month tenancy, it's now what we call rolling over, or what's known as a statutory periodic tenancy, then in that case, you can serve 1 month's notice to increase the rent, and that rent increase will then apply 1 month from the next rent due date. So if you're serving on the 7th and your rent's due on the 5th, well, you've missed it for this month, and you have to serve from the 7th of the following month to actually take effect from the month after that. So it's important that you bear in mind that you do need a month from the rent due date to make those notices effective. Why do people use Section 13s and not just issue new tenancy agreements? Well, there's one simple reason. If you issue a new tenancy agreement, then tenants, when there's a large rent increase, may not sign it. Where does that leave your rent increase? It's a bit up in the air, isn't it? A Section 13 does not require a signature by a tenant. It just requires service. Obviously, it can be challenged by tenants. The only time it's likely to be challenged is if it's actually not in keeping with local rents in the area. So provided you're being reasonable about your rent increases, there's no reason why you can't. And in fact, if you've got a mortgage, chances are you need to protect yourself, and that's only natural. So if you need any advice on that, then we're here for you. We've got your back. And as far as the property market's concerned, exciting times, just coming into springtime, really important time for the property market, and really is the yardstick for the rest of the year. So it'll be really important. We'll be reporting to you on what's going on right here in Norbury from the coalface of estate agency, as we always do, to let you know exactly what's going on. So that's it for today. Hope you have a great day. Thanks very much for watching. Look after yourselves. And if you can, your family and friends. Ciao.